All right, back live tonight here on In Focus. Members of Parliament have expressed outrage following revelations by the Special Investigating Unit that state entities and governing departments owe the body 986 million rands. Among the chief culprits is the Department of Justice, which owes them 71 million rands. MPs say none and delayed payments frustrate the fight against corruption by crime-busting units. Kaiser Kanyahu joins us now, who speaks for the SIU. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. I was quite surprised to hear this. In fact, I didn't know this was the arrangement. So the very same departments that you investigate, they must pay you to investigate them. How does that work?
Good evening, Tao, and good evening to our viewers. This is the model that the SIU has been using since inception, and it's a model that says when we do investigation in terms of our legislation, in the beginning of the investigation, we come to you and we say this is the scope of the investigation and this is how much is going to be cost, and we sign and we agree on that at that point, because we are not investigating people, we're investigating processes and systems. And therefore, the problem then comes when those processes and systems get to point at people, and in most of the instances, or in some of the instances, you find that these are the people who make decisions about the payments.
So the Minister and the President is suggesting that this model would need to change, and the SIU at least be independently funded or directly funded, shall I say, to be able to carry out its work independently without this kind of situation where you're having a department owing you 71 million rand. So, I mean, if you've got to conduct an SIU investigation now at the Department of Justice, what does this mean? Must they come up with a payment plan, show you how they're going to pay you this before you begin?
Yeah, no, maybe let me start by correcting that part. The Department of Justice was owing us that amount at some point. But after our interaction with them at Scopa, they made the payment. I think they are only owing us about 17 million so far from that figure of 71 million. But the issue here is we are not going to not investigate because we have to do what we're supposed to do without fear or favor. But at the end of it all, this money has to be paid after the investigation is done. We use our money that we have. We have raised this thing over a long period now to say that when we are supposed to be investigating, we can use our money, but the payments that are due to us must come so that in the near future, 3 or 4 years down the line, we shouldn't be short of money. Therefore, we would really applaud or accept whatever way the payments or the direct funding can be done. But at the moment, this is what the system is about, and that is why we are having the presidency monitoring all our outcomes that we send to the state entities. Not only the payments, but also the recommendations that we do, such as disciplinary hearings and so on. Therefore, we really want that to happen so that there is impact in the work that we do.
Say now you are in particular entities and, for example, the work that you did around the PPEs and the kind of money that you were able to recoup. Is that money coming to the SIU, or does it go elsewhere, or do you get a portion of that money because of your ability to have been able to recoup some of that stolen cash?
At the moment, it doesn't come to the SIU. It might come via the SIU because then it comes into our bank account. But ultimately, in terms of our act, we've got to send it back to the organization or the state institution where it was taken from. Say, for example, if we were investigating PRASA and we recover money, or the example that I might give is with Eskom, where ABB paid 1.6 billion, and that money all went back to Eskom.
And how do you then build your own reserves? I mean, I hear you talking of at least a 3-year window. I think, is that the time span that you've set yourself as far as your reserves, and you're hoping those entities in that 3 years should be able to pay you back?
Yes, some of the entities are paying. I don't want to come here and say that nobody's paying. Some of the entities are paying, and then we're comfortable, we're getting what we need from them. And the same way as they would pay when they get external investigating companies, they pay them. Anyway, they pay, But some of them just decide not to pay and they ignore this. Therefore, that is why it is important that we follow them up and then make sure that they pay. And then we'll have to find other models of how we're going to let them pay. Somebody was even saying to us, why don't you, for example, when you have got to take back some of the money, you take your share first and give them the change. Things like that we will look at. And then at the moment, the law says we must just ask them nicely to pay. And some of them, like I say, they are paying.
Yeah. Of course, the big issue is not necessarily about the money because it's government. I suppose they'll find a way to pay you and fund you. It's the question of whether or not this hampers your work and the fight against corruption. For example, as the public protector would say, some of the work that they need to carry out and investigations that they need to carry out, they can't because they just simply run out of budget.
No, at the moment, it is not affecting the work that we do, because we are very prudent in our finances and we have reserves and we are able to then make sure that investigations take place. But if we do not deal with this thing in the near future, therefore it will impact us going forward. As you might see that the number of proclamations are increasing by day, and therefore it needs a lot of our investigators. We have increased our staff, and as far as investigators are concerned, to a bigger chunk of it, and that is really going to affect us going forward. But at the end of it all, we will do what we're supposed to do, and we promise the people of South Africa that we will do as the Act and as the people of South Africa, expect us to do.
Maybe just one more area that would be of interest, because of course right now you're dealing with that situation. What happens with the court challenges, and who funds and who pays for them?
The court challenges that come our way, we fund them, like the one that we are dealing with now in the Eastern Cape, with the Premier of the Eastern Cape. We fund it from our money, and obviously we're getting a lot of challenges nowadays, but we'll make sure that we really put our side of the story and then let the people of South Africa know what we are about, because some of the things that are put before us is just to try and deal with our credibility, which I don't think people will succeed to do. You know, when you are doing something that the people who do wrong do not like, they will always find ways of discrediting it.
Have you been hit with a lot of cost orders?
We have never lost anything that needed us to do any cost orders. If it is there, it will be one or two, but it will not be a lot, because the work that we do, Thabo, is really, all our outcomes are based on evidence, and we are able to give that evidence and show why you've done so. That is why in most of the cases you find that when we come with evidence, people go immediately accept and then pay back. Just recently, we went through the Gupta-owned company in Mpumalanga, and they were not paying, in one of the proclamations, they were not paying the licenses in the transport proclamation, and they were owing about 6.9 million rand. And we went with the evidence, and they signed an acknowledgement of debt, and they have already paid 2 million. They said they will pay just over 1 million rand every month. Therefore, we make sure that we really as diligent as we can, and that is why most of the cases that are put against us, the people that are put in them are not successful.
Kaza Kanyako, as always, much appreciated. Thank you for coming in and your intervention here tonight.